Hi, how are you? I'm in Guardian Workshop here. So the next project I wanted to get after was a nice little bushcrafting, camp axe, etc. I wanted it to do a little more than just be an axe, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to use here. This, I don't know the exact name for it. I know that I got a lot of years ago when I did carpet linoleum work, and so I don't know the exact term for it, but I know it's a tool that guys that do that work are probably going, oh yeah, it's called a whatever. I can't remember, but it's what you use to cut and put tack strip down for putting carpet in. So I'll give you a little look here. Now, like I said, I've had this a long time, so and I've been wanting to change it for a while, but still keep some of its attributes. So as I tilt here, I'll get a little better view of it. Let's see, I have to tilt my little screen so I can see what I'm doing. Alright, now, so this had a big long handle on it, and of course it, you know, it was in here, and we're getting rid of that. This one was made by Vaughn, and I can't make out, I just can't see that small without the big glasses. And it has an extra cutting edge here, and of course axe edge up here, and then it had a notch in it for pulling up nails. I've never known what these dots are, so if you know what those dots are on one of these, leave me a comment. That'd be awesome. I'd like to know. I've had this thing, I don't know, 35 years ish, and never known. I know they got to be there for a reason, but exactly I don't know. I can tell you I'm going to reuse them in this project, but or at least a couple of them. But I'm going to change this into something more that I think could be a bigger help. I want to keep the hammer in for putting in stakes and beating on things, obviously. And this is an old piece of handle that I had off of something else that I cut, and I want to put this in here once we get it put together. That doesn't make it better. There we go. So that will eventually, boy, trying to figure out this camera or something else, is going to be, you know, something like that. A little easier, a little shorter, a little better angle. Now, something I did to it a long time ago, and maybe I ruined it, but it just made sense to me, was for the other projects I've used it for. See, I bent that a long time ago. And the reason I did is and I can use this, I guess, as you're chunking on a piece of wood, you see, with that little bit of an angle, it just helped keep things straight as I was going. So I've never straightened it out. I put that angle in it on purpose so that I could get it closer as I'm working a piece of wood as you're hammering down on it. And you know, in the old days you had a left and a right for craftsmen that, you know, really knew their job there. And I'm going to keep that in it, even though it's crooked. I like it in there, just as I showed you, for just getting down into that easier stuff. Now I can use it left-handed or right-handed, and of course in the left hand, as you're doing that, it might become a problem, but for me it's perfect like that. So first thing that I'm going to do here is just off the eyeball, the shape I want to do is I'm going to come back up in here, and I'm going to come back into that V. I think nowadays, I mean, we used to back in the old days, and whenever we were camping. I always took some nails with me for hanging up pots and things like that, but people have become so crazy over every little thing that they'd probably look at me like I had 6 heads if I, you know, put a nail in a tree to hang a pot. And in my way of thinking, as long as I'm not going too far through the bark and into the tree, it's not going to hurt it. And usually I do it with trees that are bug eaten anyway. So besides the point, I'm not going to need that piece out of there, that V-notch anymore. At least that's what I'm thinking. Now, the first time I go to the woods, I'll see some nails in a tree that I want to pull out, and of course I won't have it. But that'll be a whole different conversation. So there's kind of the shape that we're going to change it into. And there's going to be an add-on piece that I make to this as to why I wanted to keep this extra edge. And I'll show you that as we get going. So with that, we will get on to the next part. Okay, so I wasn't going to show all that grinding. Basically, I just used my old die grinder with a cutoff wheel on it and kept cutting away until I got my basic shape here and just followed it. Now, it's real rough, it's just cut, especially with the sensitivity of this camera and not be able to know how to turn it down as it's doing its thing, recording, is the reason I just decided not to show it. But I did want to show that, of course, you know, this is where it came from. You know, it was up in there, and we just removed it. Now, this is a real good piece of steel. I'm not going to throw that away, because this old steel kind of hard to come by, and I think I have an idea what I'm going to make out of that. That ought to be pretty nice. So we're going to save that and put it over there. Okay, so now I've got kind of just a real rough shape of where I'm going with it. Now there's going to be lots of pieces here and lots of filing and lots of grinding, but that's kind of the beginning shape of what I'm after. And like I said, I'm going to keep this and of course regrind that cut there, and I'll show you why later. We'll see how it works out. You know, when you're imagineering things and you really think you know what you're doing, and then you find out that idea wasn't so great, well, then you just start over and try again. Don't let it beat you. Stay after it, because I've made a lot of scrap before I made something I wanted to keep or needed to keep, or, you know, needed to give to somebody, what have you. Okay, so there's the beginning pieces, and we'll just start working at it. Okay, here we go. Just a little bit of filing. Whoop, oh, that's it. Mostly I'm just cleaning up this edge. Like I said, I'm not sure until after I start checking the recording how loud that's going to be. Now, for something like this, besides the fact that I'm cleaning up this edge, I'm also trying to put just a little bit of pretty in it. Whereas, I don't know if you can see that back here, but see how we got these like jeweled bevels in certain spots? I like continuing that sort of look. I always have. It's just something I kind of do. So right now, I'm just making this look a little bit pretty and putting that bevel on it. Now for me, I don't know. I tend to overdo things, and and spend too much time on something that's just going to get beat and beat up in the woods, or they're tools. So I'll tell you a secret. The only difference between a master and somebody that's learning, apprenticing, doing the best they can with what they got is this secret. They know how to fix their mistakes better than you do. Now, if you care and you keep trying to fix your mistakes and you get better, guess what? Pretty soon your mistakes get smaller. But even when you have a big mistake, being able to fix it is the key to somebody that's better than you. So if there's somebody that's so into themselves that they can't see the fact that if you're just learning or trying to become better at what you're doing and judge you for it, then that's on them, But really, that's the secret of anything. I don't care if you're an IT person, computer person, accountant, doesn't matter. The only difference between that person that is in a different skill level than you is they know how to fix their mistakes better. That's it. If that's all wet and somebody doesn't agree with that, it's all training. Even they didn't know how to do something at one point. And I don't know why I thought that was so important, but I always have tried to take that, thought of when I have had somebody to train or show how to do something, trying to keep that mindset that, at one point I didn't know how to do anything either. I didn't have the luxury of a father that really cared about those sort of things other than himself. So most of what I know I had to figure out on my own. And so I know I can't be the only person that's happened to, even with people out there that's had fathers that were around. Maybe they were off working all the time, But I just try to keep those sort of judgments to myself. And, oh, come on. And go as you go. Everybody can cry and piss and moan. And maybe I am right now just a little bit. My point here was just the fact that, the more things you do, the more muscle memory you get, the better things turn out. And there's going to be a whole lot of this violent stuff. I'm not sure how much more I should show you. And if you haven't seen the other videos, files are just like sandpaper. There's different grits, there's different hardness levels, there's all kinds of differences in them. If you're going to spend money when you're looking at files, and I'm not saying it's always the only option, but try to get the best you can afford. It does make a difference. I've still got some cheap ones that I use on things that really don't matter. But I've also done with what I could get a hold of and what I could afford at the time. So you can upgrade as you go. It's all just a choice, it's all just choices, if and I'm going to say this as tenderly as I can, but if you have to have the need to drink half a case of beer a night, but you're out of money for other things, then I'm not telling you shouldn't, but priorities, can make that difference. Maybe have a 6-pack one night, and save that extra few dollars for the in-between of the 6-pack and the half rack. You can put that money away and, put it in a tool fund, put it in whatever. If you got kids, then maybe that's a whole nother aspect that you need to look at. But somebody says, well, I can't afford good tools. Well, okay. What are you doing that makes a difference why you can't? And like I said, you don't have to have the most expensive or whatever, but do the best you can. Okay, so I'm gonna have a whole lot of filing, and like you can see, I'm kind of getting a shape made up here, and I'm filing that in. Like I said, I got a whole lot of filing to do here, and I could use the sander as well, and I'm gonna, but at this point I'm just trying to find the pretty of what I'm trying to make here. And so I tend to work a little bit slow and just find those pieces and then fine tune them as I go, and we're getting there. Okay, I'm gonna be working on this here in a second, but these old roll-off type discs, or whatever they're called here, you can see this one's pretty hammered except for the outsides there, because that tends to be the deal when you're using the smaller head there. But the point of what I'm going to show you here is an old fabricator's trick. If you cut these once they start getting kind of wore out, or you could even do it on a new one if you needed to, cut some triangles, and they don't have to be perfect, like this. And some of you that know this trick are going to go, oh, I know that. Okay, well, maybe not everybody knows it, but if you just cut some triangles in your disc out of it, and they don't, like I said, they don't have to be perfect. Try to, just for balance, kind of, I can sort of eyeball this and get it close enough for what I need it for. Okay, so you see what I got going here? Now I'm going to put this on the machine and we're going to try it and see if it shows. But if you cut it like that out of its round shape, now I use this little backup sometimes just to help keep it. Sorry for my sniffling. It's still, I got a fire going in the wood stove, but it's still a little bit cold in here, and so my nose is going just a little bit crazy. Now I'm off, and I'm just going to try and get this eyeball close and then suck up on it. That's pretty good. Okay, now I know this is going to get loud, and what I'm trying to get at here, and I'm hoping it'll show on the camera, and I'm going to try and do it so that maybe you can get the point up against the edge of this if you watch close. And like I said, we'll see if it works. But by doing this, you've still got material that you can sand or grind with, okay? But when you spin it, you can see through it. Can you see? I don't know how well that's recording it, but you can see where you're going. I don't have it full blast. I'm just kind of trying to show you that it helps you see through it. So if you want to be careful, and you're trying to get into a spot where you can't see very good. If you do that, now you can see what's I know that's going to be terrible loud. But my point is, if you try that trick, you'll be able to see through it and see exactly what you're sanding or grinding on. And it's the neatest little trick. And some of you know it, some of you don't. But for those that don't, try it sometime. And you might just thank me or somebody else that showed it to you. But that is the neatest dang thing, to be able to see through the disc as you're sanding. And really pay attention to what you're doing. Now, this isn't a watch, but in those times where you got to see so that you don't go too deep or what have you, it's the only way I know to really do that good and be able to see what you're doing. So I'm not going to let you hear this grinding thing going here for a minute, but I'm going to be cleaning this up a little bit more, and then we'll take another look at it. Okay, so we're not done. We got a lot of more sanding and polishing to do here. But I have cleaned it up and worked on it some. Now what I wanted to show you here is this is how I get my initial bevels going so that they're fairly even. Now there's some wonderful tools out there that will, you know, make a really nice bevel that'll keep you real consistent. But for the layman here that doesn't have something like that, this is how I do it. So I'll take a Sharpie like so, and you can still see I've got some here, and I'll scrub the Sharpie marking, which I guess it doesn't matter, I can just show you. So wherever I want that bevel depth or distance so it stays fairly even, take a Sharpie and scrub it in. Now you can use different colors, that's all on you. Then what I will do is, of course, I'll put this in the vise, but I'll set whatever my distance is with a little scratch like this, okay, and it's adjustable. And then I'll just go along and scratch that distance in where I want it so that it stays pretty consistent. Now I've already done this on both sides. Hopefully you can see that. And then I hand file into that mark, so it gives me a pretty good starting point. Now I'll scrub this on the stone and really hone it in nice later, but at least, you know, I just kind of wanted to show you that that's how I get an initial on it. Now this edge I haven't even started yet, other than just cleaning it up some, and there's a reason why. Because what I'm going to do here is, once we're as good as I want to finish it off, and I still got some more filing into these bevels and getting the scratches out, but it's old and it's been pitted and rusted, and so I'm not sure just, you know, how awesome a finish I want to put on it. And you know, that's just good enough for me. But I did want to show you that's kind of how I do it. And you can also use something like this, which is a scratch, carbide, you know, and then, you know, freehand it, whatever, and then file into it. And that'll get you, you know, pretty close. And so really I just kind of wanted to show you that, you know, we're getting there. And the reason I've done this edge will come to light here shortly, but right now I just kind of want to show you that I cleaned it up and somehow I've put more scratches in it than I had earlier, but you know, that's just what happens. So anyway, there we are at that part. Now, what I'm going to do here, because the simple fact is, for me, I don't want this thing all polished up and perfect, because I've got so much more work to do. Now I'm hoping this handle makes it, once I get it scrubbed up, there's still, you know, there's some divots and life in it that I'm going to work on. But at this point, since I've, you know, gone pretty far here as far as that's concerned, is, you're not going to be able to see that, but I want to leave, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch sticking up for sanding off, for grinding, for whatever. So now, center of my hole is here, so I'm just going to kind of scratch out sort of a line on it where this handle, because obviously you can see that's a fairly small hole and that's a lot bigger. So of course we gotta, you know, grind it off and use the draw shave on it and bring it down to size to fit this. But that's just kind of gets me in the ballpark, and then I can come across here. And actually, I can use that same scribe so that I'm consistent. Bring it up so that I match. Okay. Scrub in it. And I can use my pencil here. And you can actually do that, you know, if you're using a certain shape or whatever, and, you know, kind of put that mark in there so that you can keep your shapes fairly the same. Now, I may lose all this, you know, and that's okay. But at least it gives me, you know, a pretty good starting point. Well, that crazy thing. And I know, you know, I want to be careful on this upper end. And then I can, you know, just kind of freehand that in. I know that I absolutely need to stay away from there. Now, obviously, to get these to match, we need a center point. Okay, and of course I'm just eyeballing, which is kind of funny really, because I've only got but the one that works right-ish, and so from doing things, I don't know about all of you, but, and as you see, I used my fingers kind of like that to gauge that same distance. Hold the pencil sturdy and then run my finger along it, which, by the way, is kind of how pinstripers will pinstripe, or at least when they used to. You know, you'd run your opposite fingers along the edge of something so that you could follow it as you went. So anyway, that's kind of where it's at right this second. And obviously we still got a lot of work to do, but that's kind of where we're at this moment. Okay, so as we come back here, and I didn't want to bore you with all the sawing. I mean, this handle made out of pretty good wood, so it's quite a bit of hand sawing here. But I did want to show you just a little bit. And basically what I did, and I get that you're not really seeing it real good, but obviously this handle's way too big for that hole. So, you know, once I got it kind of lined up, I just took a pencil, traced out that inner size, cleaned it up a little bit, and then started my cuts. And I'd make my bottom cuts here to where I kind of want it to stop as far as depth, and then I just kind of followed, and this is just to rough it out and get my beginning shape here. And there you are. Okay, so that kind of gets me in the ballpark. I still haven't decided exactly what I'm doing with this end yet, and that part doesn't really matter. Now, how you decide to finish up your shape here, you know, so that it matches the handle pretty well, is up to you. I'm going to try and file and sand this as much as I can to get it sort of close. And then once I know that I've got a pretty good shape for this thing, then I'll start working out the handle before I finish it completely off, because I still haven't quite decided exactly how I'm going to do it so it doesn't look stupid. So at that, we'll just keep after it. Okay, I wanted to show you a little bit of this, and this is, like I said, I do things probably different than most people, and if you've got a better way of doing it, then, you know, that's good on you. But as I've filed here, and I'm test fitting my handle, as I'm getting closer and able to push it in a little more and more each time, excuse me, it'll make some dark marks there. You see that? And that is going to be my guide for where I'm filing, so that I can get a better and better shape. Now the biggest idea obviously is to get rid of, you know, all the undercuts so that I don't create a place where it'll break. Now, will it break eventually? I'm sure it will. But like I said, that's what I'll do. Now, more and more, if you get to the point where you can't see where this is, you know, sliding on there anymore, what I've done is take a little, you know, piece of charcoal, whatever, sorry, and rub it around inside, and that'll make that charcoal dust in there, and then as you press and as you go, it'll transfer that and you can see it better. Now, other guys have different ways of doing things. This is just how I do it. So, and as you can see, I'm still following that line I got going there around, and I still got a lot of work to do, but I kind of wanted to show you that that's how, you know, a little bit at a time you can follow where you're going, so you don't go too much. Now, it'll happen, but, you know, as you get better at it, your skill level will get better. So we'll keep working and we'll be right back. Okay, this is a little something I wanted to show you, and for some people, you know, it's just the normal way things go, but for me, because of where I am, This is the old handle. Now, there's a set wedge in here. Okay, so I could disregard it for now, whatever. And I know I have a few around here, and I hid them so well so that I wouldn't lose them. I forgot where I put them. So I need to use this one for sure on the new axe. Now, why am I even bringing this up? Here's the biggest thing. Because I don't live in town, and my nearest hardware store, if they have them, is about $6 from here. Now, what do I mean by that? By the time I fire up the truck, get it warmed up, head to town, or at least the closest one, the closest hardware store, I'm going to be at least $6 in fuel just to get there to get one of these. Now, I haven't bought one of these in a while, and they're not terribly expensive, but I am, so I can tell you right now that to me, this stupid little thing once I get it out here is worth a minimum of at least $6 plus whatever it costs to get another one. They probably come in a couple of packs, or like I said, it's been a while since I've, and this handle's pretty shot up here anyway, so I'm not real worried about saving it. But so that little wedge, now I can make it. I can fire up the forge. Whoops. I can fire up the forge and I can make one, but that costs money too. So for me, minimum over that silly little thing just saved me, let's just say $7, you know, to go get one. Now, if they didn't, if the local hardware store didn't have it, and I got to fire the truck up again and go to the next hardware store to try and find one, excuse me, then I've added to it some more. So, whenever I have them, I try to save them. Okay, so obviously to get that piece we just took out of the other one out, this one's going to need one too. So I've just split the difference here for where, you know, center is going to be. And I'm just coming down because this is what's going to make it tight. And that wedge is in there. Now, I may also be doing this wrong, but as you see, I come down here a little bit. I've seen lots of guys that go, or outfits, they go all the way down, you know, to wherever you're going to be here. Well, since I don't know where my bottom is going to be, and I'm definitely not going to leave it ugly like that, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to come down, I'd say within maybe not quite a quarter inch of the bottom of that, because I still got to shape this in. You know, do I have to? Probably not. I could whack that thing on there, shove it in, and do something with a handle and we're done. But, you know, it's not kind of how I work. So, but that, and I know that doesn't look like it's center, but it's as center as I can get it. Anyway, that's the idea. And then once the head is back on, and here, see, that's what happens. I hit it so I wouldn't lose it, and I almost lost it again. So, and then this will get hammered in there. It'll spread the wood. It'll make it tight around there. And then I'll soak it, of course, but that's later game. Anyway, so that's kind of where it's at right this minute. That gets me pretty close. And let's see where we're at here. Look at that. We're getting there. Now I'm not going to ram that all the way down there and have to get it all the rest of the way off, but we're already in pretty good shape. So there's how we're getting it. Okay, now there's still going to be some more filing and cleaning and that sort of thing, but we're getting there. I'm just rotating it as I go, trying to get rid of as much of that as I can. To remove and make that transition smoother, without trying to remove any here, because I know I'm real good. In fact, I'm probably a little tiny bit smaller than I'd like it, but we're going to make it work anyway, and I think it'll still be a fine match. But the idea, I think you're getting here, is to just transition this a little better. As we come around it. And because I've got it in this big vise, it's just kind of easier to do it here. And make those transitions more a little prettier. And let's say once I'm gone, somebody else gets this axe. Or hatchet, probably a better term for it. You know, maybe that day when they really need it, it doesn't break, or break on me. So, real roughly, that's kind of the idea. That, you know, we're just trying to make this transition as smooth as possible. Wow. Maybe I should get my big glasses on, because in that focus I can still see I got a lot of work to do. Okay, so that's where we're at now. Okay, so here we go. Hope that focus stays in. It's kind of crazy. So, kind of like with the tier walking stick. Right here I've just got a, I don't know how well that's showing because I can't see it very good from here, the display screen on the camera. But I'm just going to use this ball end on my Dremel to come through here and just start, you know, removing some of this material. And I just made a little sketch of my mark, and I just want to get some of this out of here. For me and for my eyes, I've got to use something like this before I can start using my holy smokes, brain's not working. I haven't had enough coffee. Before I start using my carving tools. Okay, so now, you know, keep in mind, you could print something out off the internet, you know, and then transfer it on here. I just freehand on both sides, and you know, I just want to remind you to keep in mind that if you're going to do something on both sides, you know, try to obviously keep it the same so that, you know, you're proud of it and somebody else would be too. So I guess we'll turn it on here. Hopefully it's not too noisy, and we'll get at it just a little bit. Oh. Well, put my big glasses on. Now, I think I've gone over this with you folks before, but these are my big glasses. They're about the only things that let me even get close enough to do as good or bad a job as I can. And without them, this is almost pointless for me. So here we go. Now I'm just going to stay back away from that line, because when I start carving, I will clean it. Coat fiber, especially when I'm focused in tight, on my coat show up pretty good. Not that that was on purpose, but so basically what they're after here is cleaning up what we just made in there. Now there's all sorts of real techniques doing this. And you can see I just gouged the crap out of that one. But for what I have in mind here, I don't think it's going to hurt much. You know. Just going a little bit at a time, cleaning up the lines. And a lot of how things turn out are also going to be your wood choice, obviously. But there it is. And however you need to accomplish what you need to accomplish, to me, that's where your muscle memory and technique and what have you. And I don't, like I've said before, these aren't the most high-end tools. And I try to keep them as sharp as I can. I'm not a master sharpener, but the better you do, and the more you do, the better you get, obviously. And with this wood being as dried out and terrible as it is, and what kind of makes me crazy, and I guess something that I absolutely wanted to say to people, I guess, is if you have a craftsman doing work for you, I'm going to have to move this, and I hope, yeah, it's out of shot. So let's see if I can move it. Back in the shot here. You gotta get a little more stable for a moment. You have somebody making something for you because you can't, or don't have the skill, and that's fine. I'm not complaining at anybody for that. That's what keeps guys that do it working. But the point I'm trying to get to is try and keep that in mind. How much work is in trying to do something that you may think is really simple. And when they ask a price for something, especially for somebody that really cares about what they're doing, all I'm saying is when they ask for their pay, I can almost guarantee you that they've already thought about what to charge. And some people start balking about, oh my God, you want what? How much? Are you out of your mind? And that's part of the reason why I don't do a whole lot of stuff just to anybody. Because those kind of people make me crazy. They can't build nothing, but then they judge you on what you're trying to make. And it makes one for hard feelings, and excuse me. And since you don't know what it takes to create anything, if you weren't ready for that purchase, or to purchase whatever that craftsman's making for you, I hope you think about that just a tiny little bit. Because anybody that, and I'm not trying to put myself in with a craftsman because I don't really consider myself that. I got a fire going in the shop, but it's pretty cold out here and it's making my big glasses fog up a little. Sorry, wandering there. It takes a lot of work, and it's just that. And if you can't kind of understand that in the beginning, unless that craftsman is really desperate, and you're one of those kind of people that likes to prey on that, because they're hungry, shame on you. Really, just shame on you. Because most guys, most craftsmen know that they're probably not going to get. I know I'm on the wrong side for the camera, and I can't help that right this second. That they can't get what it's actually worth, as far as money for the time and energy spent into it. But they're still going to do as best a job as they can. Kind of knowing that there's so many people out there, you know, they want watches and they want diamonds and they want to get it dirt cheap so that they can brag to their friends how bad they screwed the guy that was making it. And if you don't believe that I'm telling you the truth, I'm sorry for you, but it is, it's the truth. And that's what kind of really hurt me, honestly, for wanting to do things for people, because of that exact reason. Because I don't like that part, and I don't really know anybody that does, that likes that ugly end of it, of when you're, you know, exchanging the dollars part of the job. And see, just trying to make something so simple as what I've got going here and still do a nice job, or, well, for me, my skill level of nice. That's all I'm saying. You know, folks, try to keep that in mind. You know, somebody already knows that it may be tough trying to get that time and energy back, and they never really do. And like I said, I know there's going to be a whole lot of boring stuff here, but that's kind of the end of it there, you know. So what I've done there is took my knife and I outlined it. My shape here. So that I can come into it. And I can tell you, from somebody that does build things, and I'm sure there's other fellas out there, or women, ladies, whatever, can attest to the same thing, how heartbreaking it is when you've worked hard on something, spent time and energy in it, and especially something like this, you know, where there's intricate pieces. And then you break a piece off. And it's happened to me lots and lots and lots of times, probably more than I should admit, but you know, you just gotta kind of go slow, and as you get better and better at things, you get better results. And some people, you know, they can pick something up and, oh, see, I got a problem with that one right there. Just saw it try and lift. Now I'm gonna sand this some more, so I'm not gonna get real excited about I'm just trying to show you that you know, it takes time, patience, if you're trying to build something any good. Now, you're smart enough to have a, see, I knocked that out. You see that right there? That was right here. Now, if you can see that. I guess I could focus in. Let's get a little closer and see what we get. I know that's kind of tough there. See, and this is what I'm talking about. Even though I can't see that screen very good, that autofocus, sorry, should be coming here. Even though I've got it focused in, let's back it out just a little bit and see if that helps. Okay, so that little piece just came out of right there. Now, I could probably glue it back in. I probably should, but I'm not done sanding here, so I'm not going to stop because of it. Now, if this was for a customer, I'd have to deal with it because I just couldn't live with myself if I didn't, especially if the customer isn't doesn't understand. Like when I'm building something, I tend to build things maybe not as perfect because it's handwork. You know, this is a hand. This job was done by hand, and I like that look. So sometimes things break off, and to me it just gives it character and it makes it oh yeah, that's beautiful. Let's go back out a little. I know that's still going to be in the way, but and patience, 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 because you get in a hurry. And that's usually my problem, is trying to finish, because these jobs that are for me, you know, I got to try and fit them in where I can, or I don't get anything. And so, awesome, I hear the phone ringing, so we'll stop there. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that phone call. Did you know that your car's insurance is about to run out? God, I'm so sick of all that. Anyway, so, and while I had the camera off, just to try and get a little further along before I went back on there. Okay, that's where we're at now. And I've just cleaned it up some. There's still some more and some sanding and that sort of thing to go. And then of course we've got to get to the other side. So patience, you know, and go slow. Wood choice, how dry it is, you know, how much moisture level in it. That's all going to make a difference. Now, is that done? No. But tool selection is another big one. At some point, I'd like to find a smaller set of tools, just for that would help me in the real fine detail work. And like I've said before, you know, I got these where I could get them and trying to make them work. So at that, we'll keep working and try to get it finished up, and we'll see you again. Okay, as you see, I've done some work on it. It's not perfect, it wasn't meant to be. I haven't put the I'm going to put teak oil on this one and see how she turns out, but basically, and I don't have any copper, you know, that I could actually make something to wrap around that, but I did have some very thick copper wire. So I just wrapped it as tight as I could, flattened out a spot back here, and hammered it in to hold it, and then just with muscle and being careful, I just wrapped it up, finished the top here, set it, got it fitting pretty good. It's real tight. Okay, that's the end of that one. I know it's kind of long. I'll do the best I can with the trimming of it. I'm still not great with it, and the program I'm using, it's just difficult to deal with, and so we'll do what I can. I may have to put it in just like it is. Hope you enjoy it. I'm going to try from now on to keep videos to about 10-12 minutes, which is kind of crazy to me, because I've noticed, holy smokes, I've noticed that most people, wow, my shop, they only want to learn the world in 10-12 minutes and be the master of it. To me, that's craziness, but you know, I realize I'm taking somebody's time, and my thought on it is, if you're trying to learn something on this YouTube, and you only want to spend 2 minutes, 10 minutes, 12 minutes to master it, I really don't know what to say about that. But since I've noticed that most people are only spending a few minutes to watch anyway, and I realize we haven't got to the bushcrafting yet. We will get to it. First and foremost, this is a workshop channel, just showing you things that I build within days, or a few days, or a bunch of days. And I'm going to be posting another video with a little more information about how I feel about the bushcrafting and some of those parts and pieces, but it's going to be a little bit of a ways out right this minute. I've got some things I've really got to get finished up. So with that, thank you for hanging with me. If you made it all the way to the end, awesome on you. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Hope you maybe, you know, found something that you might want to try. And thanks again. We'll see you.